Hi there! In today's video I want to point out a fix for a problem that I had when using render textures with a raw image in Unity and enabled post-processing. This causes the texture to not render any transparency in the universal render pipeline. What you can see is the heist editor for the upcoming Country Ball stealth game I'm making together with PWA. A wishlist from you would be a huge thing, so I'll just leave a link to that in the description. So the problem I'm talking about occurs in Unity 2021 and 22 for sure, as mentioned in the universal render pipeline. But we're here to fix it, so let's get started. My setup is explained easily. I got this desk with stuff and a cute computer, which assists you in the versatile editor that together assemble a cooler looking main menu screen. I set up the models in the scene and let a separate camera render it. The render output doesn't go on the display, but rather on a so-called render texture. Using this approach, I can create a UI element that's called a raw image and let that one display what the camera renders. Lovely. But as you can see, because I use post-processing to create effects like a certain amount of bloom, the transparency somehow gets lost. The solution for this is to edit the so-called UberPost shader that does not return any alpha values by default. So let's search under Edit, Project Settings, and under Quality you'll find a render pipeline asset. Remember, I'm using the universal render pipeline here. In my case, I also have multiple render assets for different quality settings, but that doesn't matter, because in here we're looking for the shared URP universal renderer data. Now we need to find a way to access this post-processing data thing. What you need is to go to GitHub and download the ExtendedScriptableObjectDrawer. It's a script that we will put in the editor folder under the asset folder in your project. If you have not yet a folder called editor, go ahead and create one. Now we successfully gained access to a variety of shaders there. I personally wouldn't mess too much with them, as this can indeed break your entire project, so please, before continuing, back up your project first, okay? At this point, I want to give full credit to the devs discussing this topic in this thread here, which I will also link below. They figured out how this Unity problem is being solved. Now the solution is to create a custom UberPost shader. I've taken the finished shader that worked on my end and created a download link for you that redirects you to my website to make sure you can access it right away. But again, credit goes to these guys over here. While you download the shader, let's make sure the other settings are fine as well. We must ensure that our render texture has the correct color format that supports alpha transparency. In my case, I went with this 16 something as float blah blah and a D24 U-form depth stencil. To be honest, no idea why whatsoever. I just tried them out and tested them, and these seem to work. Further, make sure your pipeline asset has depth texture enabled. When your shader is downloaded, just drag it into your project. It can be opened in any script editor and looks like this. The next step is to simply drag and drop the shader to the UberPost slot and try to run the game. Believe me or not, this is the most complex part of it. Sometimes it works just by putting the shader in the slot and play the game. But sometimes you must save the project first. And on some days it only works if you switch scenes and save it in another scene. And from time to time I just changed a random boolean in the inspector of another object and then it worked. It's just super weird. I can only guess that the reason behind it is that Unity notices that its internal shader was changed and automatically tries to revert those changes because it thinks the shader is broken. You'll know that that happened when you get the following console warning. The package cache was invalidated and rebuilt. If that happens, just try again and again. In my case here, it worked simply after the second time. And voila, we got a transparent render texture working with post-processing. Even after I've built the project to standalone, it worked. Note that this can break from time to time, for example if you import an external Unity package or you copy the entire project, but fear no more, if that happens just replace the shader again until Unity accepts it and you're good to go. I hope this video will save you from some headaches, and if you can, please have a look at Country Ball's The Heist, which I'm working on so hard, it would mean a lot. Alright, cheers everyone.